Hey, this is Jarvis DeBerry with NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, and I'm here for Common Ground with my colleague Tim Morris. Tim, we were past the first round of our municipal and some statewide elections. You wrote that we should be ashamed of ourselves that so many people turned out. There's a very, very low statewide turnout and a slightly less embarrassingly low municipal turnout. Why do you think that is? What are your theories?
Well, there are a lot of reasons they do that. And as you point out, so it was abysmal statewide, 13%, and 32% in New Orleans, which we've been around 35% for the last 3 or 4 elections, which I think is also still disappointing. And the arguments are that we have too many of these darn things, and that people feel like every few weeks they have to go back out and vote again. There was a lot of people talking about how they weren't very excited about the candidates in this race, and my argument would be, but we're trying to elect a mayor, and 7 city council members, and we had some other races, including state treasurer and constitutional amendments. And so, I've just become a scold and a grumpy person, but I really thought we could do better than 32%.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I am always one of those people who votes no matter what. But as I told you earlier, there have been times when I've been on the fence. I remember an election where there were 2 people, and I didn't like either one of them running for a particular office. And there was one other thing on the ballot, and I was like, oh, thank God, there's something else. So I don't want to just go and sign my name and not vote. So I've been there, but I think that it is kind of my civic responsibility to vote no matter what.
I was saying it's the muscle memory of democracy, and that we really should get in the habit of voting, even though every time it may not be the most exciting things or even some important things. But I think this is a duty, and this is a discussion on the thing I wrote with commenters saying I was trying to make the statement that I didn't like any of these people, which may make the argument that we should have a none of the above button for some of these races. But I just think that, first off, rather than just deciding I don't like anybody, then apply yourself and say, well, I want to make sure. And out of these 3 and 4, and there was a couple of races that just had 2 people, but to say which one is better and really investigate and invest yourself in that, because that's going to make everybody better. The next time maybe we'll have better candidates.
I think the problem with those commenters' point is that it's indistinguishable from apathy. And how do we know that you're just not completely disengaged and that you are, registering your opposition to both candidates? What do you think, or is there anything that we can do to turn this around and change this? Well,
so we've been having a lot of discussion about it among ourselves and in the newsroom, and you would hope that just the basic civics of this, saying, okay, first off, we're going to have a mayor who really have a big input on the budget. So if I care about what streets get fixed, how much money goes to public safety, if I care about what happened to the Sewage and Water Board, then I want to be engaged with that. So then you go down another level and you have your city council member, and this is a person that when things go bad in your neighborhood or even at your home regarding something with the government, this is the person that you would call. So do people realize, do they recognize that these people have a huge impact on our lives, setting priorities and what the city thinks important, I say repairing streets, making sure the streets drain once they're repaired, all these things. And so is it just that people don't understand, or are they perfectly happy with letting somebody else make the decision?
Well, to me, the irony is that we just got through August 5th, and the public dissatisfaction and anger was at a 10 almost. The city leaders lied to us. We deserve somebody who will stick up for us and defend our interests and our property and tell us the truth, and yet only 32% of registered voters go out to the polls in that circumstance. I mean, so what could be done to make people get up and go?
I actually saw a commentary saying that maybe that was a distraction. Well, first off, there's a long time between, that we were distracted by the floods. Certainly, if Nate had arrived this past weekend, I would understand. It would be lower. Even though it didn't happen, people had evacuated. But this happened back in August, and you have time. And that anger that we all felt very viscerally from people saying, we won't stand for this. Well, this is where that decision's made. I mean, there were people who were saying, that Mitch Landrieu should be kicked out of office. Well, that's not really going to be helpful at this point, but the next mayor, the next Mitch Landrieu is who we're choosing now. So I don't know, how do you get people engaged? You know, it's very easy to get registered. It is easier than ever to go vote. We have an early voting period.
We vote on Saturday.
We vote on a Saturday, which I have always liked. I've lived in other states where you had to vote on it, every vote was a Tuesday. So you have all day to kind of plan around your, you know, I'm going to do it for this time, you know.
Yeah.
I'm flummoxed. I would love for somebody to tell me, how do we get people better engaged?
One of our recent elections, and I can't even remember which one it was, I walk into my polling place at like 7 p.m., so an hour before the polls close, and one of the poll workers says that I just lost her a bet, that they had bet that there were only going to be a certain number of people who voted, and I, walking across the threshold, it had cost her like $1 or $2. And it was like, wow, this is shocking that there's a page, perhaps a page and a half of people who've signed in after 11 hours of getting a chance to vote.
I know, and we should not have a system in which our polling workers are bored. You know, I mean, that's just another sign of it. So real quick, we have a minute or so here, is to say, I get your take. What it looks like to me from the mayor's race is LaToya Cantrell came out of this much better than people expected. And she appears to be the crossover candidate, which is the formula for winning in New Orleans. If you're a white candidate like Mitch Landrieu, you need to get crossover vote from the black voters.
Correct.
If you're a black candidate, as are Desiree, Charbonnet, and LaToya Cantrell, you need white voters. And she got 40% of the white vote. Yeah. So, barring something unexpected, she seems to be in the catbird seat.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I am in her position now, I'm just trying to keep the car on the road and go straight and not make any mistakes and not veer off from left to right. You know, I would imagine that Charbonnet is going to have a really uphill climb from this point. The other candidate of note, Mr. Bacneris, was quite opposed to her, and his supporters, we know, a lot of the people who supported the not for sale NOLA pact that was attacking Ms. Charbonnet were also supporting Mr. Bacneris. So it is unlikely, I would think, that those people are going to throw their support behind Charbonnet. I would guess that most of the people are going to go with Cantrell, which would give her the edge in that.
So I'm going to throw out one last thing as we close, and that is I was looking back, and so the 2006 election, Ray Nagin led Mitch Landrieu by 9 points, almost exactly the same margin that Cantrell has over Charbonnet right now. And the questions were whether a well-financed candidate like Landrieu could come back.
Yeah.
So as we are going into this final month before the November 18th general election, you know, I just remind people, so, you know, we had that election and we elected Ray Nagin, so think about, you know, how important this is. And come November 18th, we sure hope that you get out there and vote and join us back here at Common Ground. Thank you.